Welcome back, Ascenders, to the Ascended Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Crane. It is time for you, Ascenders, to begin the process of taking back your power. We have come to a place where we operate under the pretenses that our power is negotiable. Society has convinced us that in order to remain a productive member, a good citizen, that our personal individual power should be negotiable. Now, this manifests itself in a lot of different ways. This affects your self-esteem, your self-confidence, the self-love that you may or may not have for yourself. It also affects what you think about your brain, your intelligence, your intellect, your smarts, what you think about your emotional state, your mental state, what you think about your capabilities and your talents, what you can do, what you can provide for the world. And it also affects how all of those inner things manifest outside of you. So your relationships, both platonic and romantic, the bonds that you have with your family members, how you pursue your work life, what jobs you choose. That is all a negotiation of power because society has taught you that in order to be a productive member of it, you should be willing to negotiate your power. What has happened is we have fallen into this habit of giving up too much of our power. If you give up a little bit of your power, then all of a sudden you become someone that's agreeable, someone that's fun to hang around with, someone that other people like, someone that is easy to get along with. Society has created all these words, all of these beautiful adjectives of all these things that you are supposedly supposed to aspire to be. And they all come in the form of various adjectives that we think are favorable, but haven't realized that we sometimes earn those things because we've given up certain aspects of our power. Now, before anyone gets upset, I do want to mention that for some people, these are genuine aspects of their personality, but for others, they are not. We all have a mask or a facade that we have created to exist in this world. We all have a mask and a facade that we have created for different circumstances and different situations that we may come across in life. We appear to be different people to different people. Who you are in your workplace is not who you are at home, and who you are at home is not who you are in your friend group. And if you really want to strip back all the layers, who you are at home still isn't who you are at home. Because anyone that lives with themselves knows. Now that is a true testament of who you actually are as a being. Those that live alone. Because when you live with other people, you still maintain a mask, a facade, something that makes it easier for you to go along to get along. And that is you giving up pieces of your power in order to coexist well with others. Now, power is a negotiation, or at least that's what they've convinced us that it should be. And there is a time and a place for everything. So at some times, negotiating your power may be helpful for you. But the reason why this is a topic for this particular podcast episode is because we have gotten so accustomed to giving up our power that we have given it all away. As a result of that, a lot of people deal with things like anxiety, depression. People feel an overwhelming sense of doom and gloom. People feel that things won't get better and that they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's because over time you have given away pieces of your power. Perhaps one of the most common things that you see is people who are approaching burnout or experiencing tremendous burnout at that moment. because they have given away pieces of their power, pieces of themselves. They were a lot to everyone, but they were nothing to themselves. And therefore, as a result of that, they have burned out. So we are going to talk about how to reclaim that, how to get that back, how to get those pieces that you've given away of yourself back. Now, another reason why we give away various pieces is because we are concerned or afraid of the consequences that may follow. Sometimes, if you are not always agreeable in certain situations, i.e., if you're not willing to give up a piece of your power, then that may not work out favorably for you, or at least so you think. You may be concerned that you may lose relationships or jeopardize certain connections because you were not agreeable in a certain situation, or maybe you didn't want to come across as too judgy or too pushy, or someone that didn't know how to work well with others. As a result of that, you allowed yourself to fall into the background, to take a smaller role, to take a smaller part in your story, and what's supposed to be the most beautiful story that belongs to you. It's time for you to allow yourself to have the courage and the strength to do what's necessary for you. To allow yourself to have the courage to say no when it's time to say no, and to stop things when you feel like things need to be stopped, to establish boundaries when you feel like boundaries should be established. And when there are situations when people cross those lines and cross those boundaries, you need to find the courage within yourself to initiate that pushback. Until you initiate the art of the pushback, that first step and reclaiming what is rightfully yours, which is your own personal power, it'll be hard for you to experience what true happiness is, what true bliss is, what true peace is. True peace comes from you allowing yourself to be unapologetically yourself. When you start the process of being unapologetically yourself, you begin this beautiful process of getting to know yourself, finally. There's nothing more beautiful than knowing who it is that you are. And the more you get to know yourself, the easier it is for you to execute the art of the pushback when it comes to reclaiming your personal power. It'll become easier for you to stand firm, to stand on your own 2 feet. Your no's will be harder, and they will be a lot more affirmative. And people, believe it or not, will actually come to respect you. You will be someone that people know is not easily messed around with. And just because that's who people get to know you as does not mean that you are also someone that is combative or negative or scary or mean. It means that you are someone that has self-respect. And the beautiful thing about having self-respect is that once people see that it exists, all of a sudden they start having respect for you. People don't respect people that respect themselves. It's all frequency ascenders. If you begin to emit a certain frequency, in this particular case, the frequency of respect, then people around you will naturally start to match that frequency without always realizing that that is what they are doing. And therefore, the respect that you hope to have will continue to be there. Now, for the ones that don't honor this, the ones that don't respect you in the way that you feel you should be respected, particularly after you start initiating the pushback, finding that inner courage and strength inside of you to set those boundaries in order to reclaim that power of yours, then that should tell you that those are people that should not be in your life to begin with. And at that point, you should allow yourself the self-respect to remove those people from your life. And what you'll start seeing is that the frequencies that are in your life that are too low will no longer be compatible. When you begin the process of reclaiming that power, those frequencies that were surviving off of you giving away pieces of your power will no longer be able to survive. And this will manifest itself in the form of people. So, relationships that you have in your life, whether or not those are family relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. And it can also manifest itself in certain situations, maybe certain work situations or social situations. You'll notice that when these things come in contact with your frequency, and they cannot survive off your frequency, and you'll notice that they can't because you'll start to feel a resistance, and that resistance will manifest itself in the form of frustration or annoyance in you because you'll be frustrated or annoyed with the person or the situation that you're dealing with, because at that point you'll be becoming more aware of the fact that it's taking away pieces of your power. It'll start to self-combust because it can't survive there, because it never existed there with good intentions. But that's what you want to happen. Frequencies that are not around you for good reason, you don't want them around you at all. So you shouldn't be afraid to allow those things to go. Now, the thing is, when you start doing the energetic cleanup, which will happen when you allow yourself to reclaim pieces of your power, is that you'll have all this energetic space that's left, that's free, and that can be moved into. And what you'll start to notice over time is that better things, things that bring you joy, that bring you bliss, that bring you peace, that are operating at higher and elevated and ascended frequencies will begin to find their way into your life with no help from you yourself. You'll start to notice blessings and weird strokes of what you would consider good luck, where all of a sudden the puzzle pieces seem to be falling into place, whereas previously it may have felt like things were never falling into place. That is the beauty of allowing yourself to reclaim your power. Now, to begin this step, it will be difficult in the beginning. You do need to allow yourself to harness a little piece of courage, to harness that little bit of strength in yourself, to allow yourself to put a hard foot down, to begin the process of saying no in order to reclaim your power. And I suspect that those of you that are listening to this know exactly where those places in your life are. You know the issues with people that you're already having problems with. You know the people around you that you may feel are taking advantage of you or not appreciating you fully or trying to make you do things that you don't want to do. You already know of the situations in your life that exist that you wish didn't exist. And you know that it's a result because you've caved in or you've given in or you felt like maybe it's best not to say anything at all in order to get along. You already know what all of these situations are in your life. And so what this practice is going to start doing is showing you, not only is it going to show you these particular situations that you're already aware of and really magnify the issue and show you details in that situation that you probably weren't already aware of. It's going to bring new situations to light that were completely off your radar. And you're going to be like, oh, you know what? This is also something that doesn't belong here either. And all of that's going to start going. But you need to allow yourself to harness that courage that you need in order to make that next step. You need to allow yourself to unlock that special place in your heart that you've buried in order to exchange pieces of your power. So courage actually comes from a French root word that actually means heart. So you need to harness that part of your heart. You need to allow yourself to sit with the inner knowing that this is the right decision for you because it protects you and it benefits you long run. Giving up pieces of your power when not done strategically are not good for you in the long run, even though society has convinced us that it's necessary to convince ourselves of this in order to be productive members of it. But I'm going to say that again. Giving up pieces of your power when it's not strategic will not help you in the long run. And I'm using strategically because there are various times in our life where it is incredibly strategic and we know that it can get us 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 steps ahead if need be. But what you need to do is in those moments, ask yourself, is that worth jeopardizing or compromising your mental health in the process? If you feel like it is, then that's okay. Then go forth and prosper. But most situations that you're going to be dealing with when you find yourself giving up pieces of your power are not going to be strategic at all. So you need to allow yourself to sit with that inner knowing that you are doing what's best for yourself. And at no point are you trying to hurt or harm other people. You're just trying to live your truth. You're trying to live the path that you deserve to be living and that you have the divine right to be living. And you are trying to pursue the path of the most peace. And in order to do that, you need to reclaim your personal power. And you will be surprised at the amount of cultivation that will happen in your life as a result. All of those projects that you wanted to do that you put off because maybe you felt like you weren't inspired, all of a sudden that inspiration will start coming back at really random times because you've reclaimed your power. Things that you were scared to do, things that you didn't have enough confidence in order to pursue, all of those things will all of a sudden be things that you now feel are possible, but you have to allow yourself to reclaim that power. It's going to be a tricky thing for some of you, for a lot of you, because we have all been conditioned that our power is negotiable. But that's quite an interesting thing when you look at the actual powers that be. And for those people, power is not negotiable. Their power is their power. And those people are willing to literally do whatever it takes in order to make sure that they maintain that power. If you look at the state of the world, the amount of deaths that you see, the amount of wars that are had, all because there are people with power who have made the decision that their power is not negotiable. Now, I'm not saying go be like these people, but what I am saying is allow yourself to take an ascended view of things and allow yourself to see how those things connect. When the person who has decided that their personal power is non-negotiable has convinced you that your personal power should be negotiable, because if it's not negotiable, then you are no longer a productive member of society. There is an imbalance there. Those decisions are not made for your personal benefit. So it's time for you to allow yourself to make the decision yourself to reclaim your personal power. And when you start to do that, you will notice that there will be an uptick in your mental health. You won't be as anxious, as depressed. You won't be as irritable when you're dealing with other people or as annoyed, because you'll find that your irritation and your annoyance comes from people or comes from situations with people where those people in particular said or did something that in a way was trying to take a piece of your power, and that annoyed you or that irritated you. And now it is a trigger. So when you're in certain situations that you feel may reflect that, you're now triggered and then therefore irritable or annoyed. Once you start taking back your power, you'll start to notice that all of those things begin to dissipate, because you will be in a place where you know that, man, you've got your back. You've got your own power. You've got your own self-respect, and you'll be confident enough to say, you know what? I respect you as well. But in order for us to coexist in the same energetic space, I need you to be at this frequency. I need you to raise up a little bit and meet me at this frequency, because I will meet you at this frequency. And if you cannot raise up to meet me here and give me the respect that I know that I deserve, because it is the same respect that I will give you, then you are no longer allowed to be in my energetic space. And then allow yourself to have confidence in that decision. Allow yourself to know that that was the right decision for you. That at no point in time was it your intention to hurt that person that you may have had to say that to or establish that boundary with. And as you continue to do this, you will continue to meet that beautiful self. You will continue to get to know yourself. Things in your life will be a little bit easier. They will move a little bit smoothly because you'll be able to do it with greater conviction. And people that you meet along the way, that you feel give you resistance while you're in the process of taking back your power are the people that were trying to take it from you in the first place. And those are not the people that you should want to be around or that you should allow to be around you. Allow yourself to express all aspects of yourself, to do so unapologetically, because you deserve that. But in order to get there, you have to allow yourself to know that taking back your power is part of the process. That mastering the art of the pushback will help to keep you elevated. And once you find confidence in this process, it'll begin to establish itself like a habit. And next thing you know, you'll be able to live a life where you can walk in your truth and honor your inner power at all times. And that is a life, Ascenders, that I think we all should aspire to have. Because happiness exists there, and perhaps more importantly, so does peace. Stay inspired and keep ascending.